So on to Charles Chadwick. He is a former college student who experienced the challenge of paying for his college education without any external financial assistance. He cut down his college costs by thousands of dollars, which amounted to 40% of his college expenditure. He has 2 degrees, but he also learned a trade before going to college. His trade experience and employment has even helped him pay off his student loans. I need to learn a trade. Charles wrote 2 books with The Best College, Trade Industry, and Job Skills Outlook. Books Chadwick College Checklist and Chadwick's Cultivated Circumstances are the 2 books that you should check out. Without further ado, Mr. Charles Chadwick.
Hey, how you doing, Melanie? Thanks for having me.
I am well. Thank you for coming on the show. I don't typically pre-record a show. I just want the audience to know out of transparency because I have been on a bit of a hiatus, and I don't typically pre-record. So if I have you back on the show because you have lots to talk about, it'll be at a different time. So,
Okay.
yeah, so I'm excited about having you on. I think this is really important information. Full disclosure, I used to teach financial literacy, and this is one of the things I used to talk about, like college or a trade school. Like, which should you do? College is really expensive. How do you pay for it? You have the best of both worlds. Look at you. You have a trade and 2 degrees. You're unstoppable.
Yeah, but if I could go back in time, I think I would have just studied this.
You
That
would have just
degree could have waited.
you would have just what? Done a
Did
trade?
the trade and just took any business class I could. Real estate, I would have been a certified real estate agent, trades as well. But college is definitely not for everybody. But I'm not going to downplay it because I did go. You know.
Right. And you have 2 degrees. What are your 2 degrees?
1 degree is associates in electronic servicing. That was the era with peripherals, with computers, software, circuit boards, capacitors, resistors, and then my bachelor's degree is in communication arts, comm arts.
Nice. Very good. Very good. So, what of this? What made you get to the point where you're like, people need to know that college is not the end all to be all?
Yep.
Like, what influenced that decision? Was it just finances or were there other factors?
Honestly, I don't want to go here, but I'm gonna, be transparent. Just during the pandemic, I'm happy we're over it, but I became an essential worker because I was in construction, and after seeing so many people lose their jobs, I was like, wow, the only reason I'm working is because of the trades. If I did use my degree job more so over the years, I've been more successful with the trades. I might have got sent home and worked from home, or they would have did away with my job. And a lot of jobs have been lost. And just in that process of thinking for myself, I said, hey, it was better for me to learn the trades in the long game of my life versus just settling with a degree. I'm happy that I experienced the trade industry. So just recently, within the last years, I thought about it hard and I've examined my life. I've gotten more benefits financially, lifestyle from trades than college for me personally.
Wow. That's amazing. I think that, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on and I was interested in your story is having been a former public school teacher, I think that there's a very high emphasis on college. Everybody should go to college. Everybody should go,
Yep.
and if you spend some time in the classroom, you understand that is not for everybody. Like there's some
Yep.
people who shouldn't be encouraged to go to college. They should be probably steered a little bit more toward the trades. Now, there's some things like I want my doctor to have gone to college, right?
Yep.
Right?
Exactly. Exactly. Those. Yep.
But if you have a degree in basket weaving, did you need to? I mean, did you need to do that? Was that necessary? How are you helping? Like, is there a huge basket weaving industry where you're going to be able to get a job? Is that marketable? And there are tons of degrees that are like that, in my opinion.
Yes, a lot of it. And I don't know how familiar your audience is. I'm pretty sure you're up to par on this AI chat GPT. It's crazy to teach like world history or anything. I see the future changing a lot. Again, and during the pandemic, a lot of kids were doing classroom stuff online. So in the future, we might could have one teacher that could teach a whole school, if not multiple schools, if somebody could make a curriculum where it's all online, just like Phoenix online. College was done online, and I see the school system changing. It's good to go for social interactment, but at the end of the day, this technology is changing, and that's why it's so important to pay attention to what degree you go in, and also just having a skill set. And that's what I look at the trade industry. It was a basic skill set, but before college, I was working trades. During college, I worked trades, and after college, I'm working trades. It has been a skill set versus just getting in all that college debt.
And it can be a lot of debt. It can certainly be a lot of debt. I know a lot of people who are in quite a bit of debt over school. And, when you look at the statistics, the statistics say, you're going to make significantly, like a person with a college degree makes so much more money than a person without a college degree. Listen, I have 2 degrees too. I have an undergraduate, full disclosure. I have an undergraduate degree and I have a master's degree. And I have no trade, no no hands-on skill to speak of. I mean, I can run my mouth. I can do that.
That's a new skill too. Podcasts and just public speaking. People are getting paid very well these days without a degree. Look at E. Thomas. All of them are cashing in Grant Cardone. So again, that's our evidence that college isn't everything. It is something, but what I'm learning is to follow your passion and everything will work out just fine. And I'm almost 40 now, and it took me this long to figure it out. So my message is for the next generation, you have plenty of time. You don't have to just run off to college and get on all that debt. Maybe, learn a skill set and then go to college later on in life if you choose to.
I completely agree with that. I mean, I used to tell students, listen, especially if you're not sure what you want to major in and you're not big on school, go to community college first if you're going to do anything. Like, it's super cheap, and the classes that you take in community college, you're just avoiding having to take in a 4-year college. And then if you go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. And exactly, that's where my first degree came from. And I saved so much money, and I talk about this in my book, the Chadwick Scholars Checklist. If you can avoid those 2 simple fees, the meal plan and room and board, that's like at least 30-40% of your tuition costs right then and there by going to that community college.
That's exactly
You're
right.
avoiding that meal plan and that room and board at a 4-year university. Most credits, not always, but you can check on it and see do they transfer. They're much cheaper at a community college than a university for sure.
Yep, that is absolutely for certain. And then you brought up real estate licenses. I told the story. I said I didn't have any other whatever, but I actually have a life and health license, insurance license. So I do have that on the side.
Well, nice. I learned a lot about that, and if I could share with your audience, I went with a term, but now that I'm understanding how those insurance policies can build cash value, I wish I would have did an index universal life insurance, because once it builds cash, you can borrow against your life, and there's no 1099, and there's no taxes on it.
Well,
so I'm learning a lot.
Yes, and you should email me about that.
Okay, great. We'll definitely be in contact.
Because you're not allowed to, as part of maintaining my license, I can't really get into specifics, but you should email me about that situation. That's all I'm saying.
I will.
But sure. I just bought one of those policies not too long ago, and everything that you said about them was correct, and that's exactly why I did it. Yep, I did the same thing.
And I started out young. And I'm sad to say, but sometimes that's my message, that if we can get more young people, and I know your podcast is the Money Talk, and this is what I'm saying. Like, I took out a life insurance policy when I was 27. I'm almost 40 now, and man, I could have been building a cash value.
Yep.
But I didn't. I did term.
That was the best time to do the IUL, was when you were younger.
Lock it in. When you're young, lock it in, cheap premiums. And just understand that cash value. There is ways to play the game as far as taxes, money, all those good things.
Yep.
There is a way.
Absolutely. Make sure you email me about that. We'll chat.
Oh, I will.
We'll chat. We'll see what we can do about that. But yeah, no, you are absolutely right about all of that. And you're not allowed to it's a very sticky situation, and you can lose your license. So I don't. I usually just mention that I am a licensed agent, and I partner with a company that does a ton of. We literally do every financial service, the company that I am associated with. And I never mention it. I should at least mention it and say, if you have any questions, email me. but I never do.
Yeah.
I never talk about it because I just don't want anybody, saying she should lose her license. So I literally just don't touch it at all, and maybe talk about it on social media a little bit, because it's the banking and licensing arm of the government. They are super sensitive.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They are
But
very
I'm real
sensitive.
happy with your podcast, Money Talks, and if money was taught more in school, I know for a fact I would be a lot further. I'm happy the light bulb popped on before I hit 40, but if you can understand money, not how to make it, but just understand it, we have to have it in this physical plane called Earth. For a young person, it will make your life. Uh, there's always going to be challenges, but you'll be able to make better decisions if you can fully understand what a 40 or 50-year-old understanding about money at 18.
Yep.
Your life choices will be a lot easier, and you won't waste a lot of time.
I used
Yeah.
to tell my students that. If I was taught what I'm teaching you now when I was your age, I would not
Yep.
be standing in front of you teaching this class.
Yeah,
I'd
we'll
be
be
on an island
retired.
somewhere. Exactly. I would be on an island
Yeah.
somewhere. So now, explain to the audience, when people think of trade schools, I think they have different things in mind. What kinds of things encompass a trade school? When we say trade school, what are we talking about?
Okay, now I'm gonna break it down to you, and I'm not as accurate. I like to be transparent. I didn't go to a trade school. I was just born into a family. My dad was a licensed plumber, and we had a small family plumbing business. He's still operating today, so I learned just hands-on. I didn't go to a trade school, but I know where you're at, New Jersey, New York. You guys have unions. I'm originally from North Carolina. I don't ever think we'll have a union there, but with the union where you're at, they have to go through that trade school, and I would just say it's no different than college, except you're getting paid while you work. Whatever company sponsor you, you're going to have to go through the union and learn the trade. Where I'm at now, there was an electrician I worked with. I'm here in beautiful Hawaii, but he was still going to
Really?
get it. Yeah, yeah. I've
Nice.
traveled all around the world, contracting, and the trades, and that skill set has helped me. But he goes 2 days out the week. He's working on his apprenticeship. Once he become an apprentice, he can go up to a foreman, and then he could go up and get his license and become a master or a licensed electrician. So it's just like college, except you're working for that company and you're learning along the way, and they have standardized tests to make sure you know that knowledge base. So that's what a trade school is, and what I like to explain to people, when you go into the trade without any experience, on your first day, you start to get paid. Plain and simple. Whether you don't know what tool to use, you don't even know what you're doing, but you're getting paid as you learn. Versus college, if you don't have no hustle and bustle about you, you're sitting, you're doing all this research and you're learning, but you're not making any money. So even during that trade school, it may cost. You may get sponsorship, you may get a scholarship, or a company will sponsor you. Many companies now are in dire need of trade workers, so they pay for everything. They'll even give you a credit to buy tools at Lowe's. So the
Really?
trade school is just, yeah. One of my homeboys, he became an HVAC technician. The company requirement was they trained him. They gave him a $2,000 tool credit, but he just had to stay with that company for 2 years. And after 2 years, he got licensed and he went out on his own. So that's the interesting thing that I love about the trade school. But for me, I grew up in North Carolina, and there is no union there. So I could have went to a trade school, but I was just blessed. My father had a plumbing business, and he just taught me from there. And all I had to do was just show up and watch. And once I learned what I learned, I started going out on jobs on my own.
And so, did you have to? I assume you have to have some kind of certification or license or something like that. Did you have to like take a
Nope,
test? Wait, what?
nope, nope, because there's no union here. Now I know the plumbing skill set, but I never went to go for my license. My dad always just put his license down, and you can work up under a licensed plumber, licensed electrician, licensed HVAC technician. Now, if I wanted to get my own license, I'm definitely able to go take the state test. You have to show 4,000 hours worth of work, and you have to show pay stubs. But since it's a family business, they know that I've worked up under it, but I've never even went to get my license. Just having the experience, you can work on other projects that don't require a license. For example, with plumbing, uh, to change out a toilet, that doesn't require a license. But let's say somebody is going to remodel a bathroom and they want to move the toilet from one side of the wall to the other side of the wall. You're probably going to need proof that you're a licensed plumber to do that, and also pull building permits. But in the particular field that I came up in plumbing, you only need a license to do certain type of work. Other type of work where you're not physically changing the structure or the pathway of the pipes, you could just be a regular handyman repair type of person and make it. So the more experience you get, when you get your license, that's when you can make those big dollars where you could do a whole condo, or you could do a whole commercial residence. There's so many ways you could go with the trades. But I always encourage people, if you get that skill set and experience, you can always make money, as I did in college.
Wow. I was not aware of that. I did not know that. Although, interestingly, last summer, I worked for a company that did COVID testing.
Hmm.
And you would think like that's kind of like a CNA type job, right? Or a nursing type job. You don't need, like, I feel like
Hmm.
there's lots of like loopholes in the law like that. You don't need a license or any kind of certification to COVID test like other people. You don't need, all you need to
Yep.
know is you need to know how to do the test. That's it.
It, exactly. And that's what my second book, I wrote these books during the pandemic, Chadwick's College Checklist, and then Chadwick Cultivated Circumstances. Experience is sometimes priceless. And that's exactly what I talk about, Melanie. If a person wants experience, it does not cost you to learn. A quick story out of that book, I worked with a car mechanic after high school for 6 months for free. I didn't want to get paid. I learned how to work on cars. When I went to college, I started fixing people cars and got paid. Now, was I a licensed mechanic? No. But to get that experience was free. All I had to do was watch and learn, ask questions. And now that I have that experience, it's still with me today. But if I ever wanted to get licensed, that's my point of that book. It's going to cost you money whenever you want to get licensed. But if you just want the experience, you can get it. You might not be able to work on certain things, but once you have the experience, it's priceless. You can always make money off experience. And experience, in my opinion, is free.
Well, you're right. And once you learn that stuff, people can't take it away. That's the thing. Like
Yep.
once you learn that skill, nobody can take it away from you, and you have it. And the perfect example that you gave was earlier when you talked about how, during a pandemic, a lot of people got sent home or lost their jobs,
Hmm.
and you can't really fix a toilet remotely. That's not a thing. Like you
Yep.
need somebody to come and do that. Like that needs to be done.
Yep. And another key point, and I followed the news so much, I get tired of it because student loans was a huge issue. These last couple of years, that's all I heard
Oh,
about. But they said,
it's
oh,
still a
they
huge
want to,
issue.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they're saying they can't afford a home because they got the student loan. But my thing is, what if somebody really knew electrical, plumbing, HVAC? You could buy repossessed home and do the work yourself. And that's what I did when I was a homeowner. I rented my house for a couple of years and then sold for profit, but I did all the work. So even for a young person or minorities or women, if you learn the trades, just the knowledge, when you become a homeowner, you're going to save so much money because you're going to know or maybe have a clue about what something should cost. And is a plumber or electrician ripping you off? So that's why, to me, the trades is a win-win situation because we all got to have a place to live. So even if you have a degree, when it gets time to start buying your house or fixing your house, remodeling your house, if you had just a little bit of experience in that, you're going to save money, and also you're just going to be able to survive. And the best example I like giving, even during the pandemic, let's say somebody with a degree was in an office job, they got laid off, and then something failed in their home. If they knew how to fix it themselves, that's money that you didn't have to spend. So I feel like don't ever just settle with a degree. Also examine the trade industry.
Yes, you're exactly right about that. We're getting ready to go to a break, but I want to mention to the audience, you may be thinking that when you think of the trades, there's maybe only one or two trade type careers that you have to choose from. Well, according to the National Association of Directors of Career Technical Education Consortium, say that 3 times fast, they have defined 16 different vocational clusters and 79 career pathways that trade school students can take. And they include information technology, nursing, construction, and business management are, believe it or not, the most popular fields that can be explored in a trade school. So I wanted to mention that before we go to break. I am on with author and trade school expert extraordinaire, Charles Chadwick, and we will be back in a few moments.
This broadcast of Money Talk with Melanie was previously recorded. Money Talk with Melanie is brought to you by the Tax Mama, Eva Rosenberg. Visit taxmama.com.
This is important because it's your money. Your money. Money Talk with Melanie. Money Talk with Melanie. On 98.7 The Coast.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. We are on with Charles Chadwick. He's an author and also has collegechecklist.com. And we're discussing the pros and cons, if you will, of trade school versus college. Charles has done both, and I think he is team trades. Or he might be, kind of agnostic like me and team whatever is best for you. Whatever. I think you said earlier, Charles, that whatever your passion is what you should follow, but just not to think, college is the only way to accomplish your dreams.
Yes, exactly. College is not the only option. We can clearly see that as, many students are looking for moral forgiveness. I'm pretty sure if they would have followed their passion, they might have led down a different course. But when you're young and you're listening to what teachers are saying, go to college, you'll be successful. We clearly see that now.
Right. And that used to be what all, the guidance counselors just preached, right? I mean, that's what my parents taught me. They were like, I remember my mom saying, if you don't get that piece of paper, like that is the end all to be all. If you don't get that paper, you can have all the experience in the world. And it did. And I think back in her time, she was probably right about that. Like, the college degree was everything. But after you work with a few really dumb people with college degrees, you realize that maybe we want somebody with experience, over a college degree.
And it's like anything. If something is too crowded, the best example I like to give, let's say the Ford Mustang. If they said we're just going to mass produce this because we want everybody to have it, a Mustang wouldn't have the hype that it has now. If they made 3 billion Mustangs and everybody could afford them, but the few or the Corvettes that people have, that's what make it valuable. And I kind of feel that way with the college. In your mom's time, the 80s, 90s, it was good, but you got so many people going now. I think in our differences, that's what makes us unique,
Oh,
so,
for sure.
Again, yeah.
When everybody has the same thing, you got increased competition going on there, and so it's just not as valuable. I mean, it is the basic rule of supply and demand in economics.
And I love what you just said, supply and demand. While we're on this subject, college or trades, we got all these degrees, but I'm telling you, any of your listeners to your show podcast, the trade industry needs workers, women, minorities, anybody they can, because so many people have went to college. Now with supply and demand, there the demand for skilled trades is up, and the demand for degrees is, in my opinion, somewhat down in different fields. Not all degrees, but with supply and demand, if you look at, I don't have any data, but I just know skilled trades, the older people are fading out. Even my dad's 70, and he's getting ready to retire. The skilled trades has so many vacancies that need to be filled. And maybe if they weren't taken away from high schools, maybe we would have never got out of balance per se, in my opinion. But
and that's a good point. Now, I want to discuss briefly, just kind of going back and forth of the pros and cons, right, of college versus trades. How do people determine what might be right for them? So one of the things, and I think you can attest to this, has to do with the types of programs that are offered, right? So colleges typically focus on an academic type vibe, if you will, while trade schools are more vocational. So the courses that you take are going to be a bit different.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And if I could just mention a pro and con, something that I caught a revelation on over the years, I'm not going to lie to you. I grew up in the South, and I'm used to physical, hard labor work. And that's maybe what the trades people may interpret. Oh, I don't want to be out there in no hot sun, or even me being a plumber, crawling under people's houses, seeing snakes, slithering through sewage to fix water leaks. I thought it was nasty and disgusting. That's manual work. If I got a degree, when I was young, I was like, well, I can sit in an office job. But to be honest now, that quote to say work harder and not, work smarter and not harder is really backwards now. Because if you learn a skilled trade, you can make money quicker in some cases than with a degree. To me, sometimes those certain degrees are maybe salary unless you have your own practice or your own business. But for example, I can go fix a water leak right now, Melanie, be there for 15 minutes and charge $250 and I'm out. If I had a degree job or a certain job and I was working for a company, I'm going to get paid hourly or salary. How long would it take? In 15 minutes, could I make $250 working in that degree field?
Right.
Maybe
it might take you. It might take you all day to make $200.
Yep. So I caught a new revelation. That's what I kind of tell people when we say that quote, work smarter and not harder. It's not necessarily about an office job. It's about supply and demand, as you said. But the pros and cons is kind of tough because nobody's the same individually speaking.
Sure.
But I can say with the trade, I have a skill set. Rain or shine, pandemic or not, gas prices are high today. People are still calling plumbers and electricians and HVAC versus with certain degree fields, if it's not really necessary, people can do without it. But we can't do without electrical, water, HVAC. Even if global warming is true, climate change, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But if it is, people are going to want to stay cool. Therefore, you're going to call it HVAC, and you wouldn't be concerned if certain other areas of your life you can do without. But these essentials is what you need. And also with the skill set or the trades, you're not getting as much debt. And it's quicker. You're not going to spend as much time as with a college university. But it just depends on the individual person. The pros with college is, I guess, eventually if you go into your own business, the networking, you might have a better chance of networking because you're around other students your own age, and you're going to be able to build a network. But I say it's just both for me. I think if you have two type of avenues to make money, it makes you that much more marketable. So that's why I said I have degrees, I've used them, but the trade industry I learned for free, and I've been more successful with the trades.
Yep, multiple streams of income is very important. Not to, the old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Same thing.
Oh, yeah.
You touched on this in your comments. One of the, kind of pros versus the cons. Like you mentioned, it takes a lot longer to get a college degree. Many programs can range from 120 to 128 credits, whereas with a trade school program, you're probably only doing about 60 credits of coursework. You also mentioned the price. So expensive, right? So,
yeah,
Go ahead.
And I feel like maybe you can expand. You went to college too. I follow Robert Kiyosaki, and one example he gave out of his book, I think, Fake Money, Fake Teacher, and Fake Assets. He said, when you major in business, the business professor is teaching from a textbook. He or she may have not owned the business.
Yes.
So that's exactly what I'm looking at. In college, as I look back, CIS 110, computer, take this elective, if we really want the simple college, why not just provide the classes that are directly tied to what you're majoring in and stop putting all these electives in it, But
You're not
it is a
wrong.
business.
You're not wrong. I have a business degree, and I'm thinking, like, what did I take that I actually legitimately needed in business? I would say accounting. Okay.
Yep.
Computers, definitely. Microsoft Office, need to know that. I've taught that on a college level. Stats, I mean, maybe. Maybe.
Yep.
Statistics, maybe.
And that's where we're at. I'm really looking at it, and I have to say it is a business, because as far as putting that money, young people in so much debt. And I'll give an example. When I graduated, I remember sitting beside a guy. I said, well, how much was your student loans? He said, 100,000. I lost my mind. He said, I ain't worried. He said, I'm going to go work at the FBI, and they start out at 100,000. But what I had to do is I showed him, I said, man, even if you're getting 100,000, by the time you pay taxes, FICA, the state and federal tax, that 100,000 will be down to 70,000, and then you're going to have to pay your cost of living. So the key thing that helped me out, and just to keep it honest and be transparent, is that I worked and had jobs before college. So I understood a little bit about finances first, versus people who've never worked a job in their life. They don't even understand taxes. Even though you may get this big job, but you got to pay your taxes. You got to understand loan structure, interest rates. And that's why I was a bulldog when I went to college. I was always looking to cut my costs, because I worked in a plumbing business. I also worked as a pizza delivery guy. I did those bottom end jobs, which really, it wasn't for the money, but I got so much other life necessarily skills and experiences that I incorporated in college.
Indeed. And you know what? Another kind of pro versus con issue that I ran into was the difference in admissions requirements, right? Oftentimes colleges, they want to look at your school transcript or your GED. They consider your SAT scores, your AP scores, your essay. Are you going to get letters of recommendations from your teachers saying that that you're awesome? You need all that, and that you can handle, a college environment. I would tell my students that, college is about more than just exactly what you're learning. It's about learning resilience and time management and these other skills that you need going forward into a job. But you can learn that other ways, like you said, through experience. But I think that the entrance requirements for example, with my my producer's license and insurance, there were no prerequisites. There were no prerequisites, except I had to take the class in order to, which was online, in order to prepare to get my license. But there was I don't even think I had to have a high school diploma for that.
Yeah, and that's the key thing. I think it all starts at the high school level. If we would have kept that message, and it's slowly coming back. I'm not into politics, but I do see some U.S. Senates and politics talking about bring those trade schools back to high school. I think it gives people other options. Again, I graduated in 2003, and college was the only thing that was pushed. But if we can really start teaching the next generation, whether you go to college or not, whether you do a trade or not, you could start a business out of high school if you have the right mindset and the right skill set. I think it will help people not wasting a lot of time by going to college, because college does buy you time. I mean, instead of growing up and being an adult, figuring out what you want, you can go live in the dorm, you can party. It does. I
don't know what this partying is that you speak of. I, for one, was in my room studying the entire time. That is my official statement about my college years. And I just would like to express gratitude that there was no internet.
I said the same thing. I'm happy that social media just kind of arrived on the scene.
Right.
When I went to college. But I really didn't party either. I worked several jobs. You know, my work study, because I was in a trade, I didn't have no issue. The lady was afraid to give it to me. She said, "I'm gonna put you with the maintenance department." I said, "That's fine. I'm a plumber." The guys that I worked with, the employees of the college, they were shocked to see a young person work. And I was like, this is nothing. I was weeding the college grass. I went to school in the mountains of North Carolina, Lee's McRae. So when it snowed, I would be shoveling snow off the steps and salting it. And a lot of students was laughing at me. But at the end of the day, I didn't have no pride. And at the end of the semester, I got a check for like $500, $600 after I paid off my tuition from work study. And that's how I had money to go home for, you know, Christmas and Thanksgiving. So if you can bring that trade skill set and not be afraid of others, because it's not just academics, you know, you got to be able to manage your tuition costs. You got to buy those college books. So the trade industry really helped me during that college time. I was even working on the weekend on other people's houses, fixing things. So I look at my life example. If anybody could say, well, Charles did okay, yeah, learn the trade, then go to college, and you'll have that skill set to finance, you know, your way through and keep that cost down.
No, you are exactly right about that. If you, like I said earlier, multiple streams of income, you need to kind of diversify, ways in which you can make money. And one of those ways is doing something in the trades, for sure. Now I mentioned this earlier. One of the things I'm big on, because I'm an academic, I'm a nerd. I'm big on looking at studies. And, one study that I looked at, was talking about, the many reasons that students pursue higher education. Even the fact that they call it higher education is really a marketing tactic when you look at it, when you think about it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, but because
Yeah.
is it higher? Like, they don't call trade schools higher education.
No, it's been
Right. Now, when I was in the classroom, I used to say that I think you should seek out additional education in addition to high school, whether it's a trade school or a licensing program like real estate or insurance, or, community college or a 4-year college. Like, you have all of those options. And I just think it's important when you're talking to kids to put all those options on the table. You can make a great living getting a CDL license, doing insurance, like you said, doing the trades, HVAC, plumbing, electrician, all of those things. Even in computers, you don't have to necessarily do a 4-year school.
No, and while you're on the computer thing, I want to share something with you. One of my friends, we did a contract in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. He was telling me he's in the IT field. He said, man, if I knew what I knew now, he wouldn't have went to college, but he would have went to CompTIA and got every single website, every single certification, like Security Plus, all those certifications. Guess what the limit is? There is no age requirement. They just recommend you be 13 years old. And in those jobs, they start out $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 with the experience and no degree. CompTIA's website. So with the cyber attacks we're having, the fuel lines got hacked a couple of years ago. Young people, I see that as being the new trade as well. And for your listeners, there's no real age requirement. It just recommends. The word recommend is not etched in stone. So if a child could be 15 and get all those certs, he might go ahead and leave high school after he graduates and go work for somebody because he's going to have the experience versus somebody with just a degree in that computer software, but he has the certifications and the experience.
Nope, you're absolutely right about that. We're coming to the close of the show. Tell people where they can find you on social media, if you have any socials, and where they can get your books.
Oh, yeah, you can get my books right off my website, and that's Chadwicks, CHADWICKS, experiences.com. And then if you want to find me on Instagram or Facebook, you're going to love it. Find me at Reduce College Debt. It's just the @ and then Reduce College Debt.
Nice.
And then if you want to get some laughter, I got a new comedy series called The Pastor of the Student Loan Disaster, and I'm just preaching to people about student loans and debt. And you can find me at Funny Charles 84 on TikTok.
Very nice. Very nice. Charles Chadwick, thank you so much for being on Money Talk with Melanie. I appreciate you and all you had to offer my audience. Please look for a download of the podcast. I'll tag you in the next day or two, and feel free to share.
Okay, no problem.